area.
JL,
Yes.
this question's about subsidy programs. What government subsidy programs are necessary, and which ones need to be curtailed or cut or thoroughly reviewed?
Okay, as far as subsidies, that's that touchy subject again, because we are subsidizing essentially Federal Reserve usury when we're subsidizing the oil companies, for example. They're paying taxes all the way along the route, and then we're giving them back their taxes that they pay, including their employees, their income taxes of the employees, etc. And that's from truck drivers to fuel pump attendants. Oh, wait, those disappeared in the 50s. But the pumpers that pump the fuel from the trucks into the gas stations. So the subsidies really need to end, but before they can end, we need to change the monetary system. And that's pretty much all we've got.
Okay, Andre, you have a 1-minute rebuttal.
Everything, all the subsidies that the government is putting out right now, we need to pull back. The government does not need to subsidize any of these programs. We don't need to subsidize energy. We don't need to subsidize the financial sector. We don't need to subsidize the real estate sector. What we need to subsidize is tax relief for the people, for the general public. And that's the only subsidy that we need. We don't really need to give a benefit to the private sector or large businesses to do these things. If we're going to subsidize anything, it's small business and job growth. We need to take the emphasis off of how are we going to allow these larger corporations to do these things, to generate revenue for themselves, and we need to put it back on how are we going to take care of the business of the people, and how are we going to give back to the people of the United States, the workers, what we call middle class and lower class, which I hate to use class terminology because I don't think that that's any way to talk about Americans. But I think that we need to remove that. Subsidies should not be given out by the U.S. government.
Harry, you have a minute.
Well, the biggest subsidies are the ones we give to the energy and chemical companies who get a free ride on poisoning our planet. We have trillions of dollars of healthcare costs that are caused from using toxic fuels like gasoline, diesel fuel, nuclear power. All of these produce immense quantities of poisons that have contaminated the entire surface of the planet. And when you get your cancer or your Alzheimer's or you have a deformed child because of this, you don't factor that in at the price at the pump because we don't have a fair accounting system. We just think it's okay for companies to contaminate vast resources of air and water, and they contaminate the entire planet as a result. That is the biggest subsidy there is to subsidize corporations to make profits like oil companies do by poisoning their customers.
Okay.
If you go to a hydrogen energy system, you don't need any of that. The biggest subsidy of all is that we don't factor in the environmental and healthcare costs of major products like gasoline and oil.
Wait. I'm not ready for you.
The healthcare costs.
I'm not ready for you.
No one can afford to use it.
Hold on, I got to get John on first.
Sure.
I don't understand what you mean. We're subsidizing healthcare costs.
The healthcare costs and disease.
But you're not talking about a true subsidy. You're talking about the cost of we are paying the cost of them doing business, and that's not fair.
If we had a fair accounting system that factors in the true costs of products like poisons, no one could afford to use them. We subsidize those products because we don't factor in the poison, healthcare, and environmental costs. That is the largest subsidy in our country, is to subsidize poison. It's why we make more poison in this country than anywhere else in the world, and we export it worldwide. That is our business, is poison, and that's a big part of the problem that we need to stop those subsidies.
Thank you. Okay, Andre, this one's about top executive salaries. There is an expectation today for the top-tier executives to collect astronomically high salaries while squeezing costs at every juncture, demanding lower corporate taxes, low-cost labor with less benefits and more work hours, or sending jobs overseas, where there are few labor standards. These same executives expect no tax on importing or exporting and cheap materials for manufacturing. With executives like these, changing trade agreements and taxation for imports and exports might drive up the cost of goods for our citizens. Could our consumers absorb that cost, or would you expect the company's directors' salaries to bear the brunt of that cost, rather than seeing their stock prices decline?
Honestly, listen, I don't believe that the government should have its hand in private sector business affairs. What I do believe is that the trade agreements should be adjusted as such that it is not profitable for them to place a burden on the taxpayers. When we're looking at the corporate infrastructure, and you're talking about the top executives gaining these overbloated salaries, this is something where that's really up to their corporate all of their stakeholders, their shareholders, and if they're allowing that, then that's what they allow. However, we cannot, as a nation, not look at the legislation that's already on the books that's saying, hey, you know what, the way that we can regulate this is to make sure that it's by the true supply and demand structure that we had in place before, and that's something that we're not emphasizing. We are not implementing at any level. And once we get back to that particular environment, then they wouldn't be able to pass that cost along to the American people, because it'd be the true supply and demand laws.
Okay, Harry, would you like to rebut that? Harry?
Well, I would just say those positions, Andre, are exactly what the oil companies want to hear. You're working for them in terms of policies. Their super rich people love what you're saying because you're giving them more of the same. You don't want the government in their business, but if they're doing things that are wrong, how are you going to find out about it? You really think you trust these corporate executives to do the right thing? Based on everything you've seen, let's talk about the banks, for instance. You trust the fact that 5 banks now control $700 trillion in derivatives that are all put away and are in secret?
It's $700 billion, Harry.
It's
It's $700 billion.
Trillion.
Trillion.
No,
Trillion.
derivatives are 700
trillion.
And nobody knows for sure because they're all secret. But that's where all the money went because they're unregulated.
That's
The
right.
government can't do a thing. That's why all the money's in derivatives now.
Again, I've never said that I want the government not to have any regulatory authority. What I said is, as far as the executives, their payments or their pay or their pension is concerned, that is up to the shareholders of that company. The government does not regulate what a CEO makes as far as his pension, as far as his salary. That's private sector. That's like me telling you as a business owner, hey, you know what? This is all you can make. This is all that you can make. If I came in and regulated your company and said, listen, Harry, all you can make this year is $300,000. I don't care how profitable your business is. I don't care what you've done as an executive. Would you believe that that's good business practice?
Why don't you talk to top executive salaries?
Top executive salaries. Now, obviously, the United States government nor the state governments can regulate the top executive salaries. That's not what America is. However, we can regulate the capital gains market and, give the incentives when the monetary system is switched from Federal Reserve to U.S. currency and, even things out. I believe company executives, CEOs, I'm a CEO, for all that's worth. Of course, my company is in the energy business, and the government doesn't like that. You regulate the funds or the money, and everything else falls into place. we should not,
Okay.
throw burdens on the
Harry,
the
you
big
want
guys.
to respond?
Okay. Well, I do. I'm a former CEO, and I can tell you that the shareholders don't have any say in employee compensation. It just doesn't work that way. It's too bad that it doesn't, Andre. I wish it did. I wish that the shareholders had more say in what the management team does or does not do. But it's a matter of they select a board, and the board determines what their salaries are. That's the way the game is played. That's why the corporate executive team makes most of the money in the company, and the investors and shareholders are lucky if they make anything, and oftentimes they lose it all. So we have a system that's skewed in the corporate world towards the senior management team. They're the people that walk away with most of the money and the stock and the ownership of the venture. I think that's unfortunate. I would like to see our corporate charters revised so that the majority of shareholders would have some real say in what their management team gets paid and what they do as a company.
Okay.
Okay, let me go ahead and address that very quickly. And maybe I misspoke. It's the board of directors, and yes, they do. And I'm not really certain if yours was a public company, and I'm thinking it was if you had shareholders. But our board of directors actually does have a say in what the salary is of the top executives. And I think that the reason it is that way, and I don't think that the government should have a hand in regulating that, is because that is the way our country was set up. That is a capitalistic economy, and that's what we have. And now, I don't want to say that it's perfect capitalism, but it is capitalist.
Okay, JL. Go ahead.
Did you lose me?
Mm-hmm.
You want me to
Yeah.
rebut that? Well, you're both right on various points. And to make it simple, as far as derivatives, since they were brought up, do you realize that a 0.5-cent tax on derivatives or 0.5% tax would totally remove the federal income tax? And that's well within the means of Congress. Earlier stated that we cannot regulate what a woman makes. With the company.
We are sorry to interrupt this broadcast due to technical difficulties. However, we will continue this discussion about the economy during the last installment of our debate season. Thank you, candidates, for participating and helping us get to know you. We look forward to hearing more of your ideas in the next debate, which will focus on energy. To learn more about our debate schedule, register at rightindependent.org. From Los Angeles, California, this is Judy Frankel signing off. Thank you for watching.